Arrow Video brings another film from the Paramount vaults to sparkling, stunning, crisp Blu-ray with 1957's The Tin Star, directed by Anthony Mann, who gave us El Cid, Spartacus, The Far Country, also released on Blu-ray by Arrow. Stars Henry Fonda, Anthony Perkins, Betsy Palmer, better known to people of my generation as Mrs. Voorhees, Jason's mother, Neville Brand, and Lee Van Cleef in a very small role. So, I'd never heard of this film. So I went in blind, and I really liked it. This is really good. This is the kind of movie that I wish theaters that run repertory would run more often. Everybody's going to run The Searchers. Everybody's going to run Fistful of Dollars, and those are great. Red River, but a lot of movies came out in the past, and these are movies that a lot of people went to see, and these are films that people enjoyed on TV, and I really wish I would have more of a chance to see these in theaters now because it's really solid. It's a really good story. I'll give you the technical specs, then we'll get into what it's about. Black and white, presented in English mono, English 2.0 stereo, English 5.1 stereo, with optional English SDH subtitles. It is SDH for deaf and hard of hearing, which basically is all the dialogue subtitle, but it also will say like a little musical note and say music playing, or it will say door opens or gunfire. So it's basically all the audio description. This was originally released and recorded, produced in VistaVision, motion picture high fidelity, which was basically a way that it was just created a higher quality image basically for the projection end of exhibition of the film. So it opens up with Henry Fonda. He is riding into a dusty western town, dead guy strapped across the back of his spare horse. He's a bounty hunter. He's coming to collect the bounty on this person who had a wanted poster for them. Anthony Perkins, 3 years before Psycho, is Anthony Perkins. It's almost like he's playing, a more normal Norman Bates in this film. Anthony Perkins is the young sheriff who's very green, very young, very milquetoast, and not a strong, forceful sheriff. Anthony Perkins runs afoul of Neville Brand, who's like a local bully who he knows he's going to have to deal with sooner or later. Has a confrontation in the street with Neville Brand. Henry Fonda, who we learn later is a former lawman, steps in and helps out, sort of basically saves Anthony Perkins' life. And basically Henry Fonda is just hanging around long enough to get that reward money, that bounty due him, and then he's going to skedaddle out of town. He's staying with Betsy Palmer in her ranch just on the outside of town. She's a single mother with a half Native American son, so she's kind of scorned by the community. And this very similar in some structurally basic ways to The Shootist, which Arrow released recently, that I've reviewed recently, which is also a great film. So Fonda's hanging around long enough to get that money, and Perkins is like, before you go, you want to give me any tips on how to maybe not get killed as the sheriff? So there becomes this little bit of a mentoring thing. And again, much like The Shootist, you have Henry Fonda living with, rooming with, like as a boarder, single mother whose son idolizes him, wants to be like him. He's like, you don't necessarily want to be like me, kid. And then you have a town that really doesn't favor this main character, the older character Fonda, or Wayne in the case of The Shootist. They don't really look kindly upon him because his job is killing people for a living, and oftentimes he winds up bringing somebody back to their hometown where they have relatives and friends in deceased form. So he's not popular with everybody. So gritty Western. A lot of morality comes into play where Perkins doesn't want to kill anybody. He wants to just incapacitate somebody with a bullet so they can be brought to justice. And a mob threatens to form to bring someone to justice, and Perkins is all about doing it. They're going to stand trial, like they're going to get the trial they deserve under the letter of the law, and whatever happens, happens. If the hangman hangs them, that's the way it goes, but I'm not going to let the citizens decide to do that. And it gets really tumultuous as the film goes on. I'm going to keep saying this. This was really good. This came out of nowhere. I watched this last night, and I thoroughly enjoyed this film. So it looks great, crisp, sharp, black and white. It looks beautiful. Special features. We have a commentary by Toby Rohn. We have Apprenticing a Master, appreciation by author and critic Neil Sinyard. That is 27 minutes. Beyond the Score, conversation with Peter Bernstein, son of Elmer Bernstein, on his father's timeless musical mastery. That's 31 minutes. We have a trailer. It's 2 minutes. It's 4:3. It's an old, great Paramount ballyhoo trailer with all the on-screen titles and that same narrator who narrated all the Paramount titles, whether it was a Jerry Lewis movie or an Elvis movie. Image galleries, we have 3. We have a promotional gallery, that's one that plays straight through, that's 13 minutes. We have a stills gallery, that's 14 minutes. And then we have a French photo comic, which were really neat. Those were things that were common in Italy and France, where you would take a film and it would be like, here we would have a comics adaptation of a film sometimes. I've got a bunch for like Star Wars movies and stuff. And it would be, the film translated as film, the story retold as a comic book. In Italy, Photobusta, and in France with the photo comics, they would take stills from the films and it would look like a comic book in terms of the word bubbles and the idea panels and the description, but it was all photos from the film. You get that entire thing. Now it's in French, so, if you don't speak French, I guess, okay, here's a little clue. This has got nothing to do with this movie. I discovered recently that on the iPhone, there is an app called Translate. And if you hit that and you hit the camera aspect of that, you can hold your camera over anything in another language. You have to tell it which language it's in and which language you want it translated to. But the second you put that on your camera, it pops up and translates it. So you could actually do that with your TV. Use your iPhone Translate app and look at this photo comic a page at a time and hold it up and it'll just show you what it says. Anyway, released from Arrow Home Video. This is really good. If you like old Westerns, if you like Anthony Perkins, this is Anthony Perkins 3 years before Psycho. John McIntyre is also in it. So it's funny to see Anthony Perkins and John McIntyre all buddy-buddy in this film. McIntyre plays the town doctor before he would play the sheriff in Psycho, where he was a little bit ultimately less friendly with Anthony Perkins. It's just a really good movie. Good extras that illuminate the making of the film and the people who made the film, and just a solid studio picture. And sometimes, I watch a lot of foreign films, I watch a lot of cult movies, I watch subtitled films, I see all kinds of stuff. Sometimes you just want a solid studio movie to just sit back, relax, and tell a good story. And The Tin Star does that.